My name is Alina Vance and I live in a quiet little town called Northwood, Oregon. At 36 years old, I thought I had things figured out. I had a good job, a cozy house I'd made my own, and a clear idea of what I wanted from life. The dating scene felt like a revolving door of guys who were either not ready to commit or just not right for me. I was tired of it. All I really wanted was to find my person, someone to build a real life with, to come home to at the end of the day. And then I met Mark. He was charming and funny, and he seemed to want the same things I did. He came with a bit of a complicated past, 2 young sons, Lee, who was 6, and Sam, who was 4. They were living with his family, bouncing from place to place, and my heart just went out to them. I saw these 2 little boys who had never known a stable, complete family, and I saw a chance to create something beautiful. So when Mark asked if he and the boys could move in with me, I didn't hesitate. It wasn't about pride or saving anyone, it was about building a family, my family. For the first time, my house was filled with the sounds of little feet running down the hallway, with laughter, with the happy chaos of a home full of life. I loved them, all of them, with a depth I hadn't known I was capable of. I was finally making a personal change, deciding not to run when things got tough, because this felt like everything I had ever wanted. But our perfect world started to show cracks only a few months in. One night I saw Mark on his phone, a glow lighting up his face in the dark. I glanced over and saw he was scrolling through a dating app, his profile still active, still getting messages from other women. My stomach dropped. We talked, or rather, I cried and he apologized. He swore it was just an old habit, that he'd forgotten to delete it, that I was the only one he wanted. He promised to build my trust back. And because I loved him and because I loved those boys more than anything, I chose to believe him. I convinced myself it was a one-time mistake. We moved on. A few months later it happened again. This time it was a series of late-night text messages with a number I didn't recognize. The excuses were different, but the feeling was the same, that cold knot of dread in my gut. Again we talked. Again he promised. Again I tried to move forward. My friends, who had been so supportive at first, started to drop hints. They would ask gentle questions, their eyes full of concern. "Are you sure about this, Alina? He doesn't seem to respect you." I would defend him, telling them they didn't see the good side, the man who could make his sons laugh until they couldn't breathe, the man who held me at night and whispered about our future. But I was trying to convince myself as much as I was trying to convince them. Then the drinking started. It wasn't all the time, but when it happened, it was bad. He'd become a different person, mean and sullen. Our arguments grew louder, more frequent. Through it all, he talked about his ex-wife, Isabella, the mother of his children. He painted her as a monster, an unstable woman who was never really involved with her sons. He told me she had a rap sheet a mile long, that she was a danger to the boys. He made me believe I was their protector, their safe harbor from the storm she represented. I believed him completely. I told him I would do anything to keep those boys safe from her, to make sure he kept full custody. But the little lies kept piling up, creating a foundation of doubt that I could no longer ignore. One day I saw a text thread on his phone with Isabella. He'd always said she never tried to see the kids, but here was proof she was constantly asking about them, begging to arrange a visit. Curiosity got the better of me and I looked her up on social media. Her profile wasn't that of a monster. It was full of pictures of her and the boys from a few years ago, smiling, happy. I started to wonder if the story he told me was just that, a story. Things got so tense that when a temporary work project came up that required me to go to Seattle for a month, I took it. It was a big decision, but the money was great, and honestly, I needed the space. I thought maybe some distance would help us heal. I thought it would give him a chance to miss me, to realize what he had. I was so wrong. I came home a day early, wanting to surprise them. The house was quiet when I walked in. I found a wine glass in the sink that wasn't mine, with a faint trace of lipstick on the rim. My heart pounded in my chest. When I confronted Mark, the truth finally came out, uglier than I could have imagined. He had invited Isabella over to my house, to our bed. He said nothing happened, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. He said he just wanted to see if there was still a spark between them after all this time, to see if he still had feelings for the woman he had spent years convincing me was a villain. In that moment, I had never felt so disrespected, so utterly foolish in my entire life. The family I had poured my soul into, the love I had given so freely, it all felt like a lie. That was it. That was the final straw. It was over, and this time there were no more chances, no more promises, no more trying to fix the unfixable. The man I loved had ripped my family away from me, and my heart was shattered into a million pieces. For my revenge, my real, lasting revenge, I knew I couldn't do anything that would harm those boys. I still loved Leo and Sam with every fiber of my being, and I would never let anything bad happen to them. After Mark moved out, his behavior spiraled. The drinking got worse, and I heard from mutual acquaintances that he was acting recklessly. He was already neglectful when I was there, constantly leaving the boys in front of the television while he was on his phone or out with friends. Now, I was genuinely worried for their safety. He was so wrapped up in his own drama that he was forgetting the 2 little people who depended on him. I thought about the man who broke my heart, the man who used his children to manipulate my emotions, and a cold, hard resolve settled over me. He was going to feel the same loss I felt. He was going to have the most important thing in his life taken from him. I found Isabella's number and I called her. I asked if we could meet for coffee. She was hesitant, suspicious, which I completely understood, but I told her it was about the boys and she agreed. We met at a small cafe on the edge of town. It turned out Mark's portrait of her was a complete fabrication. She wasn't a monster. She was a woman who had made mistakes, yes, but she loved her sons fiercely. She showed me court documents and text messages proving she had been fighting for years to get more time with them, but Mark had blocked her at every turn, poisoning the boys against her with his lies. He had done to her exactly what he had done to me, twisting reality until he was the victim and she was the villain. As I listened, my anger at Mark burned hotter than ever. All this time, I had been an unknowing accomplice in his scheme to keep a mother from her children, so I made a decision. I told her everything. I told her about his drinking, his lies, his neglect of the children. I told her I had photos, text messages, and a journal I kept that detailed every broken promise and every night he came home drunk. I told her that I would help her. She was in the middle of a custody battle with him, and I was about to become her secret weapon. He was going to have his world ripped apart just like he had ripped apart mine. The day of the custody hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom and saw Mark sitting at a table with his lawyer, looking confident, almost smug. He hadn't seen me yet. I walked past him, my heels clicking on the tile floor, and I took a seat on the bench directly behind Isabella. I watched his face as he turned and saw me. The smug confidence vanished, replaced by a wave of confusion, then panic, then pure, unadulterated fear. His jaw went slack. He knew in that instant that he had lost. I didn't even have to testify. My lawyer had submitted a detailed, notarized affidavit on my behalf, outlining every single instance of his instability, his lies, and his neglectful parenting. It was all there in black and white, an undeniable record of the man he really was. The judge read it, his expression growing more and more grim. When the ruling came down, it was decisive. Isabella was awarded primary custody. Mark's world crumbled right there in that courtroom. He had used his sons as pawns to get what he wanted from me, and in the end, his betrayal of me cost him everything. The thing that meant the most to him was taken away, and I was the one who made it happen. My house is quiet now. The echoes of the boys' laughter are gone, and sometimes the silence is deafening. I lost the family I fought so hard for, and a part of me will always ache for them, but I know I did the right thing. Last week, I got a picture message from an unknown number. It was Isabella. It was a photo of Leo and Sam at the park, beaming, their faces smeared with ice cream. They looked happier and healthier than I had ever seen them. Beneath the picture was a simple message, "Thank you," and in that moment I knew my revenge wasn't just about hurting Mark, it was about saving them, and that was a victory that healed a small piece of my broken heart.